bass, different. So real attention to details. So I think just looking at these things gives you some imagination about different ways to play. The next one, again, just coming ahead a little bit, and I'm not going to try to play this. You just sent me these last night, and you all know this piece quite well. And so this was one, again, I include kind of just for your thoughts, and that idea that you might yourselves go out on the ledge and do some of these things for your students. It's something that Joe has done a lot, and I know it really endears him to his students that they have that kind of thing, and he cares about the music they love. And I think I think we're in an age. Can you guys hear me all right without the mic? Is it all right? I think we're in an age which I support this idea that most of us involved in classical music, it has this certain level of excellence that's unparalleled. But there's all these other kinds of music that maybe on an intellectual level are not the same, but it doesn't mean they're not without value. And it doesn't mean they can't be done poorly and well, right? There's an amazing gift to the person who can play bluegrass well. And that's something that most classical people can't do. And I think we're at an age maybe a little more mutual respect than things have been. And I certainly feel that as someone who's a specialist in early music. I think some of my predecessors felt kind of, there was some tension between them and kind of the normal conservatory approach. And I think for the most part, we're a lot more together now of like, there's things we can learn from each other and appreciate things. I remember actually I was here for Louis Daigle's recital a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was back in December, and I thought there were some remnants of that old system Louis was playing. I was talking to someone afterward, and they were talking about like the pianos that Beethoven had, and they thought, well, and somebody said, well, those were just really crappy instruments, right? and I thought, I don't think so. They're definitely transitional instruments. Things changed, and I didn't love those pianos at first, I have to admit. It took me some time, and to be honest, I blame myself. Because now, having played them a little bit and heard them, they're amazingly wonderful. If you judge them by their ability to project in the Hill Auditorium, they fail. If you judge them by their ability to accompany singers in a recital hall, they are amazing. If you judge them by their drama, also amazing. Like, when you play a Beethoven sonata like that, and you can go all out, you can hear that. Usually with a Steinway, you still have to hold back, right? It can just overpower it. So this kind of mutual respect, I think, that we have shows us just some of these things we can do. So you can explore this if you wish, and I can put you, if you want to email me, I can put you in touch with Joe if you'd like to see the whole transcription of this. And I don't know, do any of you have one-handed students? I mean, sometimes we assign them kind of as etudes for people, right, to work on with one hand. I know I had a student a couple of years ago. She was playing a piece for her I guess undergrad recital at Michigan, and she thought she was doing really well. And she said, I'm not sure quite why Professor Harding gave me this piece. It's so easy. And then she took it to the lesson and played it, and he was like, do you know it's for left hand alone? So it was kind of easy piece two-handed. Yeah, so you can do that. So, and then the next two, again, just kind of more examples for your creativity of like, here's a score. Here's kind of two very different directions one can take it. And then the final example here is, I know it's quite dark and rather hard to see, and I probably, in retrospect, I should have copied a fancier section of the piece. But, Liszt was the consummate maker of transcriptions. And maybe he might actually be one of the beginnings of why people's maybe stopped respecting them if they were only kind of for show. And I have to say, I'm a lover of Liszt and I'm a lover of show. I don't think it means you lose the rest of the stuff. But this is the beginning. He did a lot of transcriptions of songs, Schubert. This is Schumann. And so the beginning of this is actually not very different. So I wish I had maybe picked a different part, but I think probably most of you know this transcription. It's kind of an easy one a lot of young people can play. But in this case, again, it's another way to kind of broaden one's perspective as a pianist. There is this text that goes with this, and it's not the abstract thing of make this sound like a singer, go. In this case, you can play this piece and accompany yourself singing it. Or if you feel a little bit uncomfortable, you can have a friend sing it with you. Or, God forbid, you listen to a recording, right? Of course, that's a great way to do it too, but it makes the work very concrete or very real. And I'm a big fan of that in general, just making choices, seeing which notes work, and making it really real, so you get a chance to listen to a real singer. So I'm not sure quite how I'm doing. My clock is over here. Yeah, it's about perfect on the time. I guess maybe I would just play one more piece for you. And also just the last thing I wrote down here on the outline that I kind of wanted to cover, and I mentioned it already, but as we see ourselves, as educators, I think this process of playing by ear can be really good. Again, it's another way, instead of just ear training exercises, which again, I think 10% of your students will like that kind of approach. I think more people will hear something, go listen to it, and come back for me and play it next week. Write it down if you wish, learn how to add harmony to it. And I would actually say, I would credit that kind of work actually with a lot of what I do now, that I didn't realize it at the time. When I was young, I played in church a lot, and a lot by ear. And I remember sometime I was maybe 11 or 12, and I thought, gosh, a lot of these songs just work with 2 or 3 chords. That's kind of interesting. And it's funny how they tend to be 1 and then a 4th higher and then a 5th higher. That's kind of interesting. So in a certain sense, there's subdominant and dominant, and I didn't know what they were called, but I just discovered that almost all songs work with that. And oh yeah, if you go down a 3rd, you get that minor chord. That works nice sometimes too. But that's a real fun approach to discovering music rather than just Roman numerals. So just learning to make simple harmonies, a skill that I got just, by failing a lot and trying. And then 15 years later, when I was at Peabody, I discovered basso continuo, and it was a great fit for me. And it was really funny to be with all these super hot shots, Alan Goldstein. You might have heard him a couple days ago. Yeah. He was at Peabody the same time I was, and I was nowhere on his level in certain kinds of things. But when we came down to this harmonic improv class, it was so easy for me, and it was really interesting to watch people that could, sight read Scarbo, couldn't do that. So there's a very broad palette of musical skills, and I think this kind of approach helps make complete musicians. So if you have students that like doing things from the radio or playing in church, take something and find a way. I think that's really good, and I think it's also growing a kind of value of improvisation. And this is, again, a kind of gentle gateway to improvisation. So, yeah, I don't know. It's 10 up. What would be the best thing? Should we just have a couple questions?
Play.
Little play? Okay. So, maybe we'll finish with the Bach Courant. That's a kind of happy one. And you don't have this score, sorry. But this is I'll play the Courant from that first cello suite. One interesting thing, the reason I transcribed that suite actually was the beginning, the first movement, the famous and I made that very idiomatic for harpsichord. It's a piece, we call them the pièces croisées. The hands are crossed or on top of each other, so you need the 2 keyboards. I mean, Sokolov could do it, but most could not play it on a piano because it's just super tangly. And so but I made a piece that really takes advantage of the harpsichord. But this one will be difficult for me to play, so I'll play the Quran and then have some questions. It's interesting. I feel like I can do it. I could try, but it would kind of be cliche. I would have to think about it a lot. Let me just give me like 10 seconds to think about it. I don't know. I should put myself on the spot.
No, don't do it.
Hey, you guys are used to not embarrassing your students. You can embarrass me.
You could do Turkish march instead.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to do it and not make it funny. Because I think, honestly, that I don't want to make it funny. You know, I like to make it like real. And I can't find a way to do it right now. And I don't think it's necessarily impossible. I don't know. It's not coming to me to do it in kind of like, you know, fun way. I mean, there's a kind of similar piece in G major that I play sometimes. It's a fiddle tune, Blackberry Blossoms. That's one that's in 4. And you know, that's something that works really nice on piano. It's like kind of like the stride playing in the left hand. That works really well. It's not like my strength, so I tend to kind of cheat that stuff a little bit. But this is a tune, a fiddle tune that's so like the first step in that is kind of figuring out what are the harmonies, right? All those notes work great in G. in some of it, they'll do the, right, they'll do this stuff, right? So in a perfect world, I think that's why the kind of stride thing works nice. It gives you the bass plus rhythm, so it ends up being, yeah. Texture that's super simple. Like this music, you know, wasn't written down, right? At some point, somebody heard it enough times that they wrote it down, but it was just taught by ear. So like the transcriber's job would be to kind of probably make an interesting left hand, and then very quickly, you know, people don't want to play that. So if you do it upside down, or make it harmonic. Make it sound more like a country kind of music, you know, what are the kind of classic ornaments that they do? They love to do this one, right? So